Every believer experiences moments in life when trials feel overwhelming, confusing, and emotionally heavy. During such times, it is easy to question why difficulties appear one after another, especially when you are trying to live righteously and remain close to Allah. However, understanding the nature of tests in Islam changes the way we view hardship completely. Allah does not test people randomly or without purpose. Tests are signs of His wisdom, mercy, and love. When Allah loves a servant, He refines that person through challenges so their faith becomes stronger, their heart becomes softer, and their reliance upon Him becomes sincere. Life in this world was never meant to be free from struggle. From the very beginning of human history, the righteous faced trials greater than ordinary people. The prophets of Allah endured loss, rejection, loneliness, and hardship despite being the most beloved to Him. Their struggles were not punishments, they were preparation for higher spiritual ranks and eternal reward. When a believer faces difficulty, it is an invitation to grow closer to Allah rather than a sign of abandonment. Hardship removes arrogance, humbles the heart, and reminds a person that true control belongs only to Allah. Often people assume that ease means Allah is pleased and hardship means Allah is angry, but this understanding is incomplete. Sometimes blessings come in the form of difficulty because trials awaken the soul. During comfort, people may forget to pray sincerely or depend fully on Allah. But when tested, hearts turn back to Him with honesty, tears, and humility. These moments of vulnerability are deeply valuable because they rebuild a genuine connection with the Creator. A test pushes a believer to make dua more sincerely, seek forgiveness more often, and remember Allah throughout the day. Trials also purify sins and elevate status. Every moment of patience, every tear shed in private, and every silent struggle endured for the sake of Allah carries immense reward. Even pain that seems small or unnoticed counts as purification. Allah sees the hidden battles within the heart, the anxiety, the fear, the disappointment, and none of it goes unrewarded. What feels like loss today may actually be protection from greater harm or preparation for blessings that require stronger faith and character. Another wisdom behind tests is personal transformation. Challenges reveal strengths that comfort never could. A believer discovers resilience, patience, gratitude, and trust through hardship. Situations that once seemed unbearable eventually become the reason a person grows emotionally and spiritually. Looking back, many realize that their strongest faith developed during their darkest moments. What once appeared as a setback became a turning point toward guidance and self-awareness. Tests also remind believers that this world is temporary. When life becomes difficult, it shifts focus away from worldly attachment and toward the eternal life to come. Hardship teaches that true peace is not found in wealth, status, or people, but in closeness to Allah. This realization brings inner stability because faith no longer depends on circumstances. Whether life brings ease or difficulty, the heart learns to remain anchored in trust. Sometimes answers to prayers are delayed because Allah is shaping the believer into someone ready to receive what they ask for. Growth takes time, and spiritual maturity develops through patience. What seems like waiting is often divine preparation happening behind the scenes. Allah knows the right moment for relief, the perfect timing for change, and the unseen outcomes that humans cannot understand. When a believer recognizes that tests are signs of Allah's love, perspective changes entirely. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the heart begins to ask, "What is Allah teaching me through this?" That shift brings peace even before circumstances change. Faith becomes deeper, hope becomes stronger, and reliance upon Allah becomes unshakable because the believer understands that every difficulty carries purpose, mercy, and hidden goodness designed specifically for their journey. Human beings often measure possibilities according to their own limitations. When problems become complex, doors close repeatedly, or solutions seem far beyond reach, the heart begins to believe that the situation is impossible. Yet faith teaches a completely different reality. What appears impossible to human understanding is effortless for Allah, the one who created the heavens and the earth, who controls time, destiny, and every unseen detail of existence, is never limited by circumstances. When believers truly internalize this truth, despair loses its power and hope begins to grow again. People naturally rely on visible means, money, connections, opportunities, or personal strength to solve their difficulties. When these means disappear, fear and anxiety increase because the human mind struggles to imagine outcomes beyond what it can see. However, Allah's power operates beyond human calculation. He can change situations instantly, open doors from unexpected directions, and bring relief in ways that were never imagined. Many miracles in life occur precisely when all worldly options seem exhausted, reminding believers that dependence should always be placed upon Allah rather than circumstances. Throughout history, countless examples demonstrate that Allah transforms impossible situations. A person may feel trapped in financial hardship, emotional pain, broken relationships, or overwhelming uncertainty. Yet Allah can reverse conditions in a single moment. Opportunities can appear suddenly, hearts can change and appear suddenly, and solutions can arise from places no one anticipated. The believer's role is not to understand how the miracle will happen, but to trust that Allah has the ability to make it happen. One of the greatest struggles during hardship is the battle within the mind. Negative thoughts whisper that nothing will improve, that prayers are unanswered, or that relief is too far away. These thoughts weaken hope and distance the heart from trust in Allah's power. Faith replaces these doubts with certainty that Allah hears every prayer, knows every hidden worry, and is fully capable of responding at the perfect time. Even when results are delayed, Allah is actively arranging outcomes beyond human awareness. Believing in Allah's limitless power requires surrendering control. Humans often want immediate solutions and clear timelines, but divine wisdom operates differently. Allah sees the future while humans see only the present moment. Sometimes what feels like delay is actually protection, and what seems like rejection is guidance towards something better. Trust grows when a believer accepts that Allah's knowledge is complete, while human understanding remains limited. Maintaining hope during difficulty is an act of worship. Choosing to believe that Allah can change any situation strengthens faith and brings peace to the heart. When a person continues making dua despite uncertainty, continues striving despite setbacks, and continues trusting despite fear, they demonstrate true reliance upon Allah. This reliance opens the door to spiritual calm because the burden of solving everything alone is lifted. The believer realizes that outcomes are in Allah's hands, not dependent solely on personal ability. Miracles often arrive quietly. They may not always appear as dramatic changes, but as gradual improvements, unexpected ease, or sudden clarity after confusion. Sometimes Allah changes the situation itself, and other times He changes the heart. Granting patience and strength that make the hardship easier to bear. Both forms are manifestations of divine help. Recognizing these moments strengthens gratitude and deepens faith. The belief that nothing is impossible for Allah encourages perseverance. Even when circumstances remain unchanged, hope prevents emotional collapse. Each prayer becomes meaningful because it is directed to the one who controls all outcomes. The believer continues forward with confidence, knowing that unseen forces are working in their favor. Faith transforms fear into anticipation, replacing hopelessness with certainty that Allah's help can arrive at any moment. When hearts fully accept Allah's unlimited power, difficulties no longer define the future. Challenges become temporary phases rather than permanent conditions. The believer learns to wait with patience, act with trust, and hope with conviction, knowing that Allah can create ease when none exists and bring light into the darkest situations at the exact moment it is needed. Patience is one of the most powerful qualities a believer can develop, especially during times of hardship and uncertainty. When life becomes difficult, the natural reaction is to seek immediate relief or quick answers. Human beings dislike waiting, particularly when pain, confusion, or loss weighs heavily on the heart. Yet patience in Islam is not passive suffering or silent resignation. It is an active state of trust, endurance, and faith in Allah's wisdom while continuing to move forward with hope and obedience. True patience begins in the heart. It means accepting that every situation unfolds according to Allah's plan, even when the reasons remain unclear. A patient believer understands that delays are not signs of neglect, but moments of divine timing. Allah knows when relief would benefit a person the most, and sometimes growth must occur before blessings arrive. Patience allows the believer to remain emotionally steady instead of becoming overwhelmed by frustration or despair. During hardship, patience protects faith from weakening. Difficult circumstances often bring doubts, fear, and emotional exhaustion. Without patience, a person may begin questioning Allah's mercy or comparing their life to others who appear to have fewer struggles. Patience redirects focus away from comparison and toward trust. It reminds the believer that everyone's journey is unique and that unseen rewards are being prepared for those who endure with sincerity. Patience also involves controlling reactions. Trials test not only circumstances but character. A believer demonstrates patience through words, actions, and attitudes. Resisting anger, avoiding complaints that reflect hopelessness, and maintaining dignity during hardship all reflect inner strength. Patience does not mean suppressing emotions. Islam acknowledges sadness and pain. Rather, it teaches believers to express emotions while remaining connected to Allah through prayer and remembrance. One of the greatest aspects of patience is continuing good deeds despite difficulty. When someone persists in prayer while struggling, continues making dua even when answers seem delayed, and maintains kindness toward others despite personal hardship, they embody true sabr. These acts show deep reliance upon Allah. Patience transforms worship from routine actions into sincere expressions of faith, strengthening the relationship between the servant and the Creator. Patience also brings clarity. When emotions settle and the heart trusts Allah's plan, decisions become wiser and reactions more balanced. Rushing during hardship often leads to regret, but patience creates space for reflection and guidance. Many believers later realized that waiting protected them from harmful choices or redirected them toward better opportunities. What felt like stagnation was actually preparation. Divine help is closely connected to patience. Allah promises support, mercy, and guidance for those who remain patient. Help may come through unexpected solutions, emotional strength, supportive people, or new opportunities that appear at the right moment. Patience keeps the heart open to recognizing these blessings. A restless heart may overlook signs of relief, but a patient heart notices even small improvements and grows grateful for them. Patience strengthens resilience over time. Each difficulty endured with faith increases emotional endurance and spiritual maturity. Challenges that once felt unbearable gradually become manageable because patience builds inner stability. The believer learns that hardship is temporary and that perseverance leads to growth. This understanding reduces fear of future trials because faith has already proven capable of carrying the heart through difficulty. Another important aspect of patience is hope. Patience without hope becomes heavy, but patience rooted in trust becomes peaceful. The believer waits while expecting goodness from Allah, believing that every moment of endurance carries reward and meaning. Even when answers are delayed, patience transforms waiting into an act of worship filled with purpose. Through patience, believers learn surrender without weakness, strength without arrogance, and endurance without despair. Hardship no longer feels meaningless because patience connects every struggle to divine wisdom and eternal reward. The heart prays with conviction. The heart remains steady, the faith remains alive, and the believer continues forward with quiet confidence, trusting that Allah's help accompanies those who endure with sincerity and unwavering trust. Life often places believers in moments where difficulties seem endless and relief feels distant. During such times, emotions can become heavy and the heart may struggle to remain hopeful. Yet one of the most comforting promises given by Allah is that hardship is never permanent. Every challenge carries within it the seed of ease, even if that ease is not immediately visible. Understanding this divine principle changes how believers experience trials, allowing them to endure struggles with patience and optimism rather than despair. Hardship and ease are not separate realities. They exist together as part of Allah's perfect balance in life. When difficulties arise, ease may already be unfolding quietly in ways that are hidden from human perception. Sometimes ease appears as inner strength that develops during struggle. Other times it comes as unexpected support, new opportunities, or lessons that guide a person toward a better path. The believer learns that ease does not always mean the removal of problems immediately, but often begins with a transformation of the heart. One reason hardship feels overwhelming is that humans focus only on present pain while forgetting past moments of relief. Reflecting on previous challenges reveals a pattern. Situations that once seemed unbearable eventually passed and solutions appeared at the right time. Remembering this strengthens faith because it shows that Allah's help has always arrived, even when it was delayed. Each past difficulty becomes proof that current struggles will also end. Ease following hardship also teaches patience and gratitude. When relief finally arrives, believers appreciate blessings more deeply because they understand the value of comfort after difficulty. Without experiencing hardship, people may overlook blessings and take stability for granted. Trials refine the heart so that when ease comes, gratitude becomes sincere and lasting rather than temporary. Sometimes ease comes through personal growth rather than external change. A person facing emotional pain may discover resilience they never knew existed. Someone struggling with loss may develop empathy and compassion for others. These internal forms of ease are powerful because they remain long after the hardship fades. Allah often uses difficult moments to reshape character, strengthen faith, and guide believers toward maturity and wisdom. The promise of ease also prevents hopelessness. When a believer truly believes that relief is guaranteed, despair loses its hold. Waiting becomes easier because the heart knows that hardship is temporary. Even when circumstances remain unchanged, hope provides emotional stability. The believer continues striving, praying, and trusting because they understand that every moment brings them closer to relief. Another important aspect of this promise is timing. Ease arrives exactly when it is most beneficial, not necessarily when it is most desired. Humans may wish for immediate relief, but Allah's timing considers unseen factors such as spiritual readiness, protection from harm, and long-term benefit. What appears to be delay is often preparation. The believer learns to trust that Allah never forgets their struggle and never ignores sincere prayers. Ease may also come in unexpected forms. A closed door may lead to a better opportunity elsewhere. A disappointment may redirect a person towards something more meaningful. Relationship may change, priorities may shift, and new paths may open that were previously unimaginable. Looking back, many believers realize that what they once considered hardship was actually guidance leading them toward greater good. Holding firmly to the belief that ease accompanies hardship strengthens perseverance. The belief continues to move forward even during uncertainty, knowing that Allah's promise is true. Every prayer made in difficulty carries hope. Every it cut of patience carries reward. And every moment endured brings the heart closer to relief prepared by divine wisdom. Faith allows the believer to walk through hardship with calm assurance, trusting that ease is already on its way and that Allah's mercy surrounds every struggle even when it cannot yet be seen. When life becomes difficult, many people instinctively search for solutions in the external world. They look for advice from others, distractions to escape emotional pain, or temporary comforts that ease the pressure for a moment. While seeking support is natural, true peace during hardship begins when a believer strengthens their connection with Allah. The heart was created to find stability through remembrance of its Creator. And when that connection grows stronger, even the most challenging situations become easier to carry. Difficult moments often serve as reminders to return to Allah sincerely. During times of comfort, people may become distracted by daily routines and worldly responsibilities, causing their spiritual connection to weaken without realizing it. Hardship awakens awareness. It pushes the believer to pause, reflect, and recognize how deeply they need Allah's guidance and mercy. Instead of viewing struggle as a setback, it becomes an invitation to rebuild a closer relationship with Him. Pray hard, pray with conviction. Prayer holds a special place in strengthening this connection. Standing before Allah in prayer allows the believer to release worries, fears, and confusion directly to the one who understands every hidden feeling. Salah is not merely a ritual, it is a conversation filled with humility and trust. Each prayer offers emotional relief because it reminds the believer that they are never alone in their struggle. Repeatedly turning to Allah throughout the day creates spiritual consistency, anchoring the heart even when circumstances remain uncertain. Dua is another powerful means of connection. Speaking to Allah openly, without hesitation or formality, allows the believer to express hopes, frustrations, and dreams honestly. Dua builds hope because it reinforces the belief that Allah listens to every whisper of the heart. Even when answers are delayed, the act of making dua itself strengthens faith. It teaches patience, sincerity, and reliance upon divine wisdom rather than immediate results. Seeking forgiveness also plays a vital role in spiritual closeness. At Ismajib, asking Allah for forgiveness cleanses the heart from guilt, regret, and spiritual heaviness. Many believers find that consistent repentance brings unexpected ease into their lives. Forgiveness opens doors to mercy and blessing, softening difficulties and bringing inner calm. It reminds the believer that Allah's compassion is greater than any mistake and that returning to Him is always welcomed. Remembrance of Allah throughout daily life nurtures inner peace. Simple acts such as repeating words of praise, gratitude, and reliance transform ordinary moments into spiritual experiences. Dhikr shifts focus away from anxiety and toward trust, allowing the heart to rest even when challenges persist. Constant remembrance strengthens awareness that Allah is present in every moment, guiding events according to perfect wisdom. Strengthening the connection with Allah also changes perspective. Instead of viewing hardship as meaningless suffering, the believer begins to see it as a path towards spiritual growth. Faith provides emotional stability because identity becomes rooted in servitude to Allah rather than worldly success or failure. The shift reduces fear of loss and uncertainty because the believer knows that true success lies in closeness to Allah, not in temporary circumstances. Another important aspect of this connection is gratitude. Even during hardship, recognizing small blessings nurtures positivity and faith. Gratitude does not deny pain, but balances it with awareness of Allah's continued mercy. A grateful heart remains hopeful because it acknowledges that Allah's kindness exists even within struggle. As the bond with Allah depends, inner strength naturally increases. The believer becomes more patient, more hopeful, and more emotionally resilient. Problems may still exist, but they no longer dominate the heart. Peace begins to grow from within rather than depending on external change. The believer walks through difficulty with calm reliance, trusting that Allah hears every prayer, sees every effort, and responds in ways that bring ultimate benefit and spiritual closeness beyond what the human mind can fully comprehend. Many people reach moments in life where hope feels fragile and exhaustion begins to replace patience. After repeated disappointments, unanswered prayers, or prolonged hardship, the heart may quietly wonder whether change will ever come. In these moments, faith calls the believer to hold on a little longer because Allah's miracles often arrive when hope feels weakest. What appears to be the end of possibility may actually be the beginning of transformation prepared by divine wisdom. Human beings naturally measure progress through visible results. When improvement is slow or invisible, discouragement grows, yet Allah's plans unfold beyond human sight. While a believer waits, countless unseen arrangements are taking place. Circumstances are being aligned, obstacles are being removed, and hearts are being prepared for outcomes that will eventually make sense. The delay itself is not emptiness. It is a period filled with divine activity that remains hidden from human understanding. Many people give up emotionally just before relief arrives. They stop making dua with the same sincerity, lose motivation to remain patient, or begin expecting disappointment instead of mercy. However, faith teaches that perseverance during the final stages of hardship carries immense value. The moment when patience feels hardest is often the moment closest to change. Allah knows the exact point at which relief will bring the greatest benefit, growth, and gratitude. Miracles do not always appear as sudden dramatic events. Sometimes they come as gradual improvement, a new opportunity, unexpected peace within the heart, reconciliation between people, or clarity after confusion. A miracle may be a door opening that once seemed permanently closed, or a burden becoming lighter without explanation. These moments remind believers that Allah's help can arrive quietly yet powerfully, transforming situations in ways that exceed expectations. Trusting that a miracle is near requires maintaining hope even without evidence. Hope in Allah is not blind optimism. It is confidence rooted in faith. The believer understands that Allah's mercy is constant even when circumstances appear unchanged. Continuing to pray, strive, and trust during uncertainty demonstrates deep reliance upon Allah. This reliance strengthens the heart and protects it from despair. Another important realization is that miracles sometimes involve personal change rather than external change. Allah may grant patience, strength, or acceptance that allows a believer to rise above difficulty. The situation may remain challenging, but the believer becomes stronger than the hardship itself. Emotional healing, renewed faith, and inner peace are powerful miracles that reshape how life is experienced. Waiting for Allah's miracle also teaches humility. Humans often believe they know exactly what outcome will bring happiness, yet Allah's knowledge encompasses realities beyond human perception. The miracle that arrives may look different from what was originally expected, but ultimately proves to be better. Trust grows when believers accept that Allah chooses outcomes based on perfect wisdom rather than temporary desires. Hope becomes a form of worship when it is maintained despite uncertainty. Every moment of continued belief, every sincere prayer made during exhaustion, and every effort to remain patient reflects faith in Allah's promise. The believer refuses to surrender to hopelessness because they know that Allah never abandons those who turn to Him sincerely. Even in silence, Allah is responding. Every tear shed in private, every whispered dua, and every moment of patience is recorded and valued. Nothing is lost in the sight of Allah. What feels unnoticed by the world is deeply known by Him. Relief may come suddenly, turning hardship into a distant memory, or it may unfold gradually until one day the believer realizes that the difficulty has passed. Holding on to hope keeps the heart alive with expectation and trust. The believer continues forward with faith, believing that Allah's mercy is already moving toward them, that unseen doors are preparing to open, and that the miracle meant specifically for their life is closer than they ever imagined.